Imagine this, an 11-year-old girl in a cartoon t-shirt sipping juice at 30,000 feet. Suddenly, fighter jets call her secret code name over the radio. Who is she? Just a kid or a hidden legend? What happened next turned an ordinary flight into aviation history and proved that true heroism can come from the most unexpected places. If this story inspired you, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button with the bell so you never miss more unbelievable stories like this. Most passengers barely noticed her. Just a kid with freckles, two crooked braids, and a backpack covered in cartoon patches, curled up quietly in seat 14A of American Airways, Flight 927. She sipped orange juice, flipped through a dragon storybook, and swung her short legs above the floor. To everyone else, she looked exactly like what she seemed, an 11-year-old traveling alone. The flight attendant, Ms. Kelly, leaned down every so often. "You doing okay, sweetheart? Need another snack?" The girl nodded politely. "I'm fine, thank you. My uncle's picking me up in Chicago." Passengers smiled at her manners. A businessman offered her peanuts. A grandmother showed her pictures of her own grandkids. To them, the girl was simply another innocent child, braving her first solo trip. But behind those curious blue eyes was a secret that could shake the entire aircraft. Her real name wasn't printed on the storybook she held. It was etched into the most classified military files in the country. Lieutenant Cadet Emily Carter. Call sign Falcon. At just 11, Emily had more flight hours in experimental aircraft than most adult pilots would see in a lifetime. Her small frame made her perfect for testing prototypes no grown man could fit into. Her reflexes were sharper than computers, her instincts faster than fear. Yet none of that showed in seat 14A. To the strangers around her, she was nothing but a child, coloring in the lines. The irony was chilling. 172 passengers thought the safety of their flight rested in the cockpit. They had no idea their greatest hope was disguised as the quietest little girl on the plane. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, and to most people on Flight 927, nothing seemed unusual. But Emily Carter's quiet presence masked one of the most astonishing secrets in aviation history. For all the world saw, a child in braids and a cartoon t-shirt, Emily lived another life entirely. To the U.S. Air Force, she was Lieutenant Cadet Emily Carter, call sign Falcon, the youngest experimental test pilot in American history. Her journey had begun 2 years earlier, when scientists at a classified facility realized her unique gift. Emily's reflexes were off the charts, far faster than adult pilots. Her brain processed sensory data differently, handling overload situations without freezing. And her size meant she could slip into experimental cockpits built for unmanned prototypes, controlling them manually in ways no adult could. By age 9, she was flying aircraft that didn't officially exist. By 10, she had survived test flights that had killed seasoned aviators. Her codename Falcon was earned after successfully gliding a crippled prototype back to base during a mission that would have ended in disaster for anyone else. Yet none of this was known to her family. They believed she attended a special boarding school for gifted children. Only a handful of Pentagon insiders and commanders at Area 67, a shadow project in the Nevada desert, knew the truth. Now, seated in 14A, with a dragon book in hand, Emily remembered her orders. Never reveal your identity. Never break cover. Not for anyone. The stakes were too high. Dozens of classified programs depended on her anonymity. She took another sip of juice, eyes flicking toward the wing. The air felt different, slightly rougher, with faint vibrations rippling under her feet. Most passengers wouldn't notice. She did. Her training told her instantly something was wrong. A low rumble from the left engine deepened, but Emily kept her face blank. She turned another page in her book, masking her alertness. Because if the worst happened, and it often did in her world, Falcon would have to decide whether to obey orders or save 172 lives. At 38,000 feet over Iowa farmland, disaster struck. Captain Linda Monroe, a veteran of 12 years in the cockpit, glanced at her co-pilot. David, do you feel that? First Officer David Harris nodded grimly. The vibration under their seats wasn't normal. They scanned the gauges. Engine 2's readings twitched erratically. Before Monroe could issue a command, Engine 1 began to falter. Warning alarms screamed through the cockpit, lights flashing like a Christmas tree gone mad. American 927 declaring emergency, Monroe transmitted, her calm voice hiding the ice in her veins. Dual engine failure, request vectors to nearest airport. In the cabin, oxygen masks swayed from overhead. Passengers clutched armrests, whispers turning to prayers. Children cried. Panic spread like fire. In seat 14A, Emily felt her pulse quicken. The subtle tremors she had noticed earlier were now undeniable. She recognized the rhythm of failing turbines. She'd studied it, lived it in simulators, and survived it in real skies. But her mission was clear: stay hidden. Stay silent. Beside her, businessman Mr. Grant muttered, "Not good. Not good at all." He looked at Emily and offered a strained smile. "Don't worry, kid. Pilots know what they're doing." Emily nodded politely. Inside, every fiber of her being screamed to act. The plane shuddered again, descending despite the crew's efforts. Monroe's voice came through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We are experiencing technical issues, but are working the problem." Emily tightened her grip on the armrest. Her mind raced through scenarios, calculating descent rates, glide ratios, emergency landing sites. She was an 11-year-old undercover, but she was also Falcon, the one person on board who might know how to keep Flight 927 alive. And the storm in the engines was just beginning. 200 miles away, radar screens lit up at NORAD Command in Colorado Springs. A flashing red icon signaled commercial aircraft emergency, possible engine loss. Colonel Mark Reynolds leaned forward. "Which bird?" "American Airways 927, sir," reported Major Lisa Ortiz. "Boeing 737. 172 souls on board. Declared dual engine failure." Reynolds cursed under his breath. A crippled jet over Midwestern airspace was serious enough, but proximity to sensitive bases made it worse. "Scramble Raptors, full escort." Within minutes, 2 F-22s roared skyward from Offutt Air Force Base, piloted by Major Ethan Viper Cole and Captain Laura Hawk Ramirez. Their mission: intercept, assess, and if necessary, shepherd the civilian jet to safety. As the Raptors climbed, Ortiz ran the passenger manifest through standard security cross-checks. Suddenly, she froze. "Colonel, you need to see this." On the list, Emily Carter, seat 14A. Reynolds frowned. "And?" Ortiz hesitated. "When I ran the name against classified databases, one hit came back. Lieutenant Cadet Emily Carter. Call sign Falcon. Clearance, top tier. Attached to Project Peregrine." Reynolds' blood chilled. Project Peregrine was among the Air Force's most secret programs. Experimental aircraft that even Congress barely knew existed, and its lead test pilot was 11 years old? "Verify," Reynolds ordered sharply. "I already did, 3 times. "It's her, sir." The room fell silent. If the aircraft went down, they wouldn't just lose a commercial jet, they'd lose their youngest, most valuable pilot, a child who was supposed to be invisible. "Patch me to Offutt Tower," Reynolds barked, "and get Area 67 on the secure line. If Falcon's aboard, this just became more than an emergency. It's a national crisis." The F-22s closed in, glinting silver against the afternoon sun. Inside Flight 927, passengers craned their necks to glimpse the military jets outside their windows. Then, the radio crackled. A deep voice filled the cockpit. "American 927, this is Raptor 1. We understand you have Emily Carter, call sign Falcon, aboard. We need to speak with her immediately." In the cabin, silence fell. Dozens of eyes turned to seat 14A. Mr. Grant blinked at her. "Did they just call you Falcon?" Emily's stomach knotted. Her cover was gone. Orders or no orders, there was no hiding now. Captain Monroe's voice echoed over the intercom. "Emily Carter, please come to the cockpit. We require your assistance. Gasps rippled. Passengers exchanged bewildered looks. An 11-year-old? Assistance? Emily stood, shoulders squared, her cartoon backpack bouncing lightly against her side. Every step down the aisle felt heavier than the last, whispers chasing her. She's just a kid. What can she do? But the moment she crossed into the cockpit, disbelief met authority. Are you really Falcon? Captain Monroe asked. Emily nodded. Yes, ma'am. And you're a pilot? Harris added skeptically. Her voice was calm, unwavering. Test pilot. Air Force. I fly experimental aircraft. Their eyes widened. Child or not, her presence radiated competence. She scanned the failing systems in seconds, processing what seasoned commercial pilots struggled to grasp. Altitude? She asked. 24,000 feet and dropping, Monroe answered. Nearest option? Offutt Air Force Base, 18 miles. Emily's mind raced. Ratios, glide slopes, emergency protocols. Few civilians even knew existed. She inhaled deeply. We can make it, but only if you trust me. For the first time, Captain Monroe felt hope. Inside the cockpit, tension pressed down heavier than gravity. Emily slid into the jump seat, eyes flicking across the instruments. Engines are gone. Forget standard procedures. We'll fly this as a glider. David Harris shook his head. That's suicide. A 737 can't glide that far. Emily looked him squarely in the eye. I've flown aircraft without engines, hydraulics, or electronics. Physics doesn't lie. Trust me, or watch us all go down. Her authority startled him. She wasn't pleading. She was commanding. Over the radio, Major Cole's voice came through. Falcon, this is Raptor 1. What do you need? Emily responded with crisp precision. Coordinate with Offutt Tower. I want crash crews ready. Feed me real-time wind vectors. Roger that, Falcon, Cole replied. His tone carried something rare in a seasoned fighter pilot's voice. Respect. Behind Emily, Dr. Sophia Lee, a passenger and neurosurgeon, had been called forward to monitor Captain Carter's condition. The captain's stable for now, she assured. Focus on the landing. Emily guided Monroe through maneuvers no commercial pilot had ever practiced. Trim nose down 2 degrees. Bank shallow. Keep descent at 1,400 feet per minute. The aircraft steadied. Whispers of panic outside the cockpit softened into uneasy silence. Mr. Grant, sitting near the front, caught a glimpse of Emily in the captain's chair, an 11-year-old with braids giving life-or-death instructions. He swallowed hard. Maybe appearances weren't everything after all. As Flight 927 glided lower, the storm worsened. Crosswinds battered the fuselage, threatening to shove the powerless jet off course. Captain Monroe gritted her teeth. We're not going to hold centerline. Yes, we are, Emily said calmly. Rudder, small correction. Don't fight the wind, guide it. Her voice was steady, almost soothing. Despite her age, it carried the gravity of survival. Outside, the Raptors flew tight escort, calling out wind shear and glide slope data. Looking solid, Falcon, Ramirez radioed. Your approach is perfect. Inside, Harris wiped sweat from his brow. I can't believe this. She's flying it like a simulator. Emily ignored him. Airspeed 140 knots. No more, no less. Too fast, we overshoot. Too slow, we stall. Every second was a razor's edge. The runway lights of Offutt Air Force Base loomed closer, blurred by rain. 200 feet, Monroe called. Emily's final command. Let the airplane settle. Trust the glide. Don't overcorrect. With a bone-jarring thud, the wheels struck foam-covered concrete. The fuselage shuddered, brakes screeched, but the jet stayed true. It slowed, then stopped. Silence. Then cheers, tears, applause. Flight 927 had survived the impossible, guided not by its seasoned captain, but by a child with braids and the call sign Falcon. The moment the plane halted, fire trucks and ambulances swarmed the runway. Passengers sobbed with relief as masks were lowered and seatbelts unbuckled. But outside, something extraordinary happened. From their cockpits, the F-22 pilots straightened to attention. Hands rose in crisp salutes, a gesture reserved for generals, not children. "Falcon," Major Cole radioed, voice thick with awe. "That was the finest airmanship I've ever seen." In the cabin, word spread fast. An 11-year-old had just saved them. Some passengers rushed to thank her as she stepped back into the aisle, cheeks flushed but composure intact. News cameras captured the aftermath within hours. The secret Emily had carried for years was gone. The world now knew that America's youngest, most daring test pilot wasn't a grizzled veteran, but a sixth grader in sneakers. Secrecy had been shattered. Emily Carter could no longer hide behind the guise of a boarding school student. 2 weeks after Flight 927, the Pentagon convened. General Patricia Monroe addressed Emily. "Your identity is exposed, but your actions saved 172 lives. We propose a new mission. Instead of covert flights, Emily would teach." At just 12, she began instructing pilots decades older, standing on a step stool behind podiums. Her lessons were simple, clear, unforgettable. "Forget manuals," she told one class. "When everything fails, physics doesn't. Trust gravity. Guide it. Don't fight it." Skeptical at first, veteran captains soon realized her brilliance. Within months, 5 major incidents were survived, using Emily's techniques. Lives saved numbered in the thousands. Falcon had left the shadows. She was now rewriting aviation safety worldwide. By 19, Emily Carter was no longer just the girl in 14A. She was a decorated Air Force officer, the youngest recipient of the Congressional Gold Medal, and one of the most influential voices in aviation safety. Her techniques became standard training across airlines. Her story inspired cadets, pilots, and even ordinary travelers who understood that heroism is not about rank, age, or appearance. At the Air Force Academy, she told young recruits, "Heroes don't wait for permission. They act when others freeze." Courage isn't about size or age. It's about using what you know when it matters most. In her office hung a single photograph, Emily in seat 14A, holding a dragon book, looking like any ordinary child. It was her reminder, and the world's, that extraordinary power can hide in the most ordinary places. Life often reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and true strength is revealed in unexpected places. Emily Carter's story shows that courage, discipline, and knowledge matter far more than age, wealth, or status. Prejudice may blind some, but reality always uncovers the truth. When we choose to act with integrity and resilience, we can rise above doubt and leave a legacy that outlasts fear. Remember, what defines us is not how others see us, but how we respond when tested. If this touched you, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to support the channel.